Alright, so we made it to the mouth of the valley. And as you can see, we actually came from around this area right there and just like straight up, shot through here. And then you can see the rest of the Baca this way. We're on top of a cliff right now that we hiked up to. And my plan is to see if we can explore these cliffs over here. But I want you to know we found something super cool up here, okay? Check this out. So I came up here and look at this. This has been stacked. These rocks have been placed here almost as, I think, to hide. So the reason I've drawn these conclusions is because this looks exactly the way it does in other parts of the valley, where they, like the indigenous people, built these outlooks to hide themselves or defend themselves, especially when they were hunting bison and other animals. So they'd create something like this so that they could hide. Or, you know, if I just sit here, like I'm already pretty well like hidden, especially whatever's approaching this way. And this is like strategically and tactically a good spot because it's hard to get to, hard to see here, and you can see who's coming. So this excites me because this tells me that there might be more. I think this might be Native American. So something to look at is the lichen. So like right here, the lichen, you can see how it's grown a lot. So that means this has been here for a long time. But that's a big rock. We can assume that maybe it wasn't, that it was already here. Same with this one. But let's look at some of these smaller ones that were clearly moved up here. So it's hard to see here, but there's a ton of expansion of lichen here. So I do think this is Native American. I don't think that this is early settlers. It could be Spanish, the Spanish century up here. But you know what I mean? So if I'm right on this, which I think I am, it means that this was built here not as a hunting spot, but as a defensive spot because there was something further up, like a camp or an operation of some kind. Oh, this is, I don't know. I can't emphasize how excited I am. I'm a nerd when it comes to this stuff. I mean, look at this. This rock is literally here where someone could just sit on it until they saw someone coming, and then they could duck down here or even lay down if they needed to. This is definitely big enough just like for one person. But it looks all over the valley. There's something up here. It's either Spanish or Indigenous. And let's go see if we can find more evidence. This, I have to come up here when there's less snow. But this might have been an old spot for a fire. Traditionally, the indigenous groups, they kind of built it in a rectangle so they could just put sticks in without having to cut them, less effort. I can't tell for sure. But I am excited to see what it is that they were, one, watching out for, and two, what they were trying to protect. So we just came from down there. But right here you can see that this has been graded and flattened. So this could definitely be an old campsite for the person that was watching out over there. But that also means potentially that if this was a campsite, that wherever they were operating, I'm guessing if it's Spanish to mine, Native Americans, I don't know, that it's a lot further up, maybe further up, because my thinking process goes that if they had to set up camp here, they'd be here multiple days. And if they had to be here multiple days, that tells me that their operation was a hike away. Because if it was nearby here, they wouldn't have to set up a camp or anything, right? They could just run to the main camp, which is nearby. So I suspect whatever was operation based on this and over the cliff over there means that this thing is a lot further up, maybe towards the cliffs we're actually going to right now, which is kind of exciting. That kind of drew me over. So we're going to just keep going that direction, keep our eye out. But this was definitely being used. And the fact that it's right next to that overlook tells me that this was like a semi-long-term campsite, maybe like for a week or so at a time. But what were they doing? Oh, who was it? Let's go look. Okay, so the next thing that you want to check to kind of identify like potential age is just search for like tool marks, right? So if this site was the Spanish or the like a early French or even American like explorers or settlers, they would at least have hatchets and axes. And that's something I just finished doing. I just went around like kind of scoping the area. Obviously the immediate area is where you're going to see them first for this campsite, and then for that structure down there, along with what I think is the fire pit. But I don't see it anywhere. I don't see any type of tool marks, no saw marks, and no hatchet marks in any of the trees. And I looked in the immediate area, and that's honestly that's exciting for me, because that kind of reinforces the belief and my initial conclusion based on how that outpost built of rocks looks very similar, if just not like some other like indigenous fortifications and outlook points. So what that tells me is that what we're looking at here is probably Native American in origin, and that this right here was dug out for one or two people to stand watch. And if this is Native American, that means either they were here hiding out for a long period of time, or they were here protecting something else further in the mountains, the way I concluded earlier. Another interesting note here to take from that I noticed, if we come over here and we look down into the valley, something I've been looking for is water, because the water is a good place for me to build like my own little shelter that I can come to and explore. But what I noticed right off the bat when I got here was, in the very beginning, there's no water, one. But two, down there are a lot, especially further down here, aspen, they're all dying. Those up here look like they're alive. And traditionally what I found over here is the ones that, if there's aspen down in some of these valleys, it means there's some type of water or spring. But it's been drying out. That's why those aspen further down here are dead. But those look alive, so I'm hoping when I come back down, I'm going to go down through here and see if there's water down here, because that's also another important piece, but also might support whatever this group of people were doing. May have been more long-term. They may have been able to stay here longer because there may have been a water source traditionally, and even right now. Ah, man, I can't tell you all how excited I am. This it's not every day where you come out to do some recon and exploring and find something, like, and I just came up here and I was like, I'm gonna go explore on top of that cliff, and bam, it was right there. And I did not expect that, because normally these explorations, you don't get much from it. You have to do a bunch of them until something like hits, and this one finally did. So we're gonna head up. I kind of had to come down this way to find this to get on top of that cliff. And ironically, now I'm going back up. There, you see it. We came from this way. So let's see what they were doing up here. So once you know it, I've only been walking maybe, I don't know, 1 minute, 2 minutes, like just briefly, like we just, from the last clip you just saw. And we found more. You can't see it over here, but there is like a pathway, like a large one, an old one, that we are standing on right now that keeps going up. This way you can see it. Look at this. This is going to lead us somewhere. And a lot of times this is how the old Spanish and American like trails would look, that they bring the burros up. Except I'm very curious now, because what we found back there, that's old, and that looks native. So I wonder if we're seeing like a hybrid. You know, maybe this is later Spanish or American trail that was built to get up through here. But we'll be able to identify these things soon enough, because along this trail, if it is built by one of those, like, or three, you know, French, Spanish, or American, we will see tool marks. And if it's not, gosh, that's going to be really intriguing. Let's see this. Okay, see right here? Here we go. This is really old. Look at that. This is a really old trail. That's from like a hatchet or an axe. This. So that gives evidence of potentially Spanish, French, or American. They were all in this area. What I have noticed, though, is that a lot of it's like a lot of these old pathways originally were Spanish that American settlers started mining in and using. And I don't necessarily know if these things are connected between what we saw back there that's already old and this pathway. For all we know, hold on, let me catch my breath. Okay, I probably need to stop and talk for some of these, because it's definitely a hard hike. So the reason this is also exciting me, both like what we're seeing now, mix of European technology and what look like to be potentially native sites, is that there are stories here. Like I said before, there are legends, and one of the legends is that the Spanish forced Native Americans into a cave to mine gold that the natives were aware of, and they believed it was like something evil and like the devil to go into like this cave where this gold was. But the Spanish forced them until there was a revolt, and almost all the Spanish got killed by the natives except one priest that escaped and to tell the tale. And these legends have been out here for a long time. So being able to find something like this that's Native American back there, potentially the way it looks, doesn't mean it is. Just like there's some precursors that make me suspect it might. And then to come here nearby and find this path that we're on, that's clearly very old, most likely Spanish built, and you kind of see like that there might be a connection there, a combination of these stories. Though I would have to think that Americans found this as well, because remember, we're really close to Independence Mine. Independence Mine is just like a few hills over here. In fact, over this big one behind me, it's Cottonwood Creek. So this place is littered, and I mean littered with mines that go all over the place. But I suspect that like the Spanish found them first, or the French, and then the Americans found the old trails and went and continued mining. But this would potentially be something that, like the natives were guarding it. If that is the case, then maybe we are going up to a place that the natives didn't want people to go to, and maybe it does align with this story, and it could be over here. Maybe there's multiple locations like that. I don't know. I don't even know if we can make it all the way up today, because I followed some of these paths that we're on right now up over 3,500 feet. And in a lot of places, they've eroded away completely to find these old mines that have been remined by American miners. So I don't know if we don't have that much time today, and there's going to be more snow the higher we go up. But this is exciting. Sorry, I keep rambling, but you know what? Let's just keep looking. Let's keep going on this trail that we're on. I don't know if you can see it right there. Okay, here's a great example that we can look at, looking at different use over different periods of time. So here you can see older saw marks. This is old, but not old enough that it started growing like lichen on it. Same with there. But then we have a lot more modern ones. Look at that. That one's a lot more modern. Like it's still, you'll see the coloration in there and the sap that's formed around it. But if we go a little bit further up this old path, which, mind you, this is showing that it's been used over and over again, which I suspected as much, because there were a lot of people crawling all over these mountains during the mine days. But look at this. Look at this. This thing's old. Hatchet marks from different generations to now. But as you can see, like that branch right there that's come over the way, it's been years since someone came through here and cut it. So it's potentially been a really long time last someone was up here. But where does it go, and how far up the mountain will it bring us? There are definitely a lot of mines up here. Let's see if we can find more evidence of when it was started and who's been using it. Well, this is not the place I wanted to be, but I have traveled up here maybe a good half hour. It just keeps getting more and more snow. We are now in Cottonwood Creek Valley and basin for the mountain, and we are on the wrong side. That does not get very much snow. Sorry, that gets too much snow. You can see the other side. That's what I wanted to be on, but on the other side of this hill to explore. But come on, we found this awesome trail, this old trail nonetheless, and I wanted to see where it goes. But this could potentially go all the way up and over to the mountain. So we're going to go back and go explore on the other side where we originally were, but we will be back here when there's less snow. I had to be careful because it's hard to tell where there's gaps in here. So I'm just going to have to be careful coming back down, but hopefully it won't take too long. All right, let's head back. I made it up to the first band of cliffs. And to the other side. There's a lot less snow over here. But I'll tell you what, that's down there, like around this area, is where that cliff was where we found that outpost. That outpost still really intriguing me. Doesn't have any of the signs that we found from the older trail that we'd expect. So I am reasoning that is indigenous. And why would they be up there? Was it just a place to stay protected? Or is there more? Like, is there more to the story? Are they protecting something? Is it up here where we are? Even though the trail is really close to that spot, I want to think that they're combined, but we won't know for sure until we follow that trail all the way up, which could go very far up. So there's always the alternative that it's something else, that it is there for something else. And I hope we stumble upon it. We've already come across so many cool things already. Like, this is insane. My plan had been to hike up through here, the valley, but here I am exploring up above it. Maybe we should head down there and explore up more, but look at that. Like, what do you think could be over at that cliff? At the top, at the base? Or even over at these right here? Let's zoom in. Where there's just like old campsites from long ago. Places for ritual. Place where people lived. Far more ancient stuff that we don't even know about. Man, there's so much out here. So I made it over to the other cliff. I kept hearing things over here as I walked over, and these icicles keep falling down. I just have to be careful not to get hit by them in the head as I hike underneath. But what's interesting here is, like, I don't know, it looks like there's a route up to this cliff. And when I was over there, looking over this way, it almost looks like there are big rocks arranged in a square at the very top here. I'm not sure if I want to go up here right now, just because there is a little bit of ice and snow, but I am really curious. So I'll venture up a little bit and until I don't feel comfortable going up any further. Well, looks are deceiving. I didn't end up coming up the way I thought about coming up. I actually went down and around and then came up right through here, which, retrospect, is probably just as hard, if not harder, than trying to come up this way. And it's definitely not the way I thought it looked from out there. It looked a lot more symmetrical, but once I'm here, it looks a lot more natural. But it was a good workout. We're going to take a little break, eat, and probably head on down. Alright, I ate a little bit of beef jerky, and we made it down. But believe it or not, it's harder down here. It's all snow and slippery. And I don't see any evidence of water, but it is winter. All the water's locked away. But there is an aspen grove that's alive. I want to explore further up in the future. Well, there's not all the snow. But for now, something tells me I'm going to have a little bit of a challenge heading down. But these are some of the biggest aspens I've ever seen. Look at this. These guys are huge. Let's keep going. Do you hear that? There is water in here. And running, even right now during winter when it's all cold. Heck yeah. It still stands true though. These aspen groves growing down in these low parts of the valley are getting a steady water supply. That is so awesome. Alright, now we know there's water up here that we can take if we need to. That's another perfect reason to build us a little shelter up here and spend some more time. Look how big this thing is. Like, after out here, this thing is huge. I think it's a type of fir. Does anyone else know what this is? And it happens to be right next to even bigger. aspen. Oh my gosh. That's insane. It's like this forest started here. Anyway, it's pretty cold. There's no more water running down this section. Following an old animal trail. It might be an old human trail. I haven't seen any evidence that it's a human trail, but it is a path. Hopefully we're almost out. It is slippery and cold down here. Found this cool overhang right here. Who knows how long and how often this was used. Look at this. People in more modern times have been using it, but this could have been being used for a long time before. Look at this. Huh. What a cool place. What is this? Huh. Any idea this is used for? Huh? Found another one. But this one, at one time, oh, almost dropped you. This at one time was occupied. You know what? This is a lot of stuff that's fallen on the ground, these rocks. I don't know how comfortable I'd feel sleeping under this one. Look at that. And check this out. This is how shilajit looks out in the wild. Oh. So, you see that? Like, it looks, at first glance, like it's soft, but it's actually like hard as a rock. You have to kind of pry it off to process it into the shilajit that you can consume and purchase. What a cool little place. A little overhang. Let's keep moving.
So, quick recap. A lot was found. Really intriguing things, like that outlook that looks very much Native American, and then that trail that looks really old that could potentially be Spanish, later used by Americans. What this does show is that there's a lot of stuff, especially out here in the San Luis Valley, that still needs to be discovered, that's kind of been dismissed. But I plan to go back up there to that valley and explore those trails and more of that valley and see what can be found out. Something new I learned is that there's evidence that native groups would actually go find higher altitude to spend winters because it'd be warmer up there than down in the cold valley. So maybe that's what we're seeing. Maybe there's more. Maybe it is protecting an old legend. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts and comments, and let's see what the future reveals. Thank you.